Is there a particular person in life, not necessarily career, but is there one particular person that got you to that point of peak performance, got you to that elite stage?
As a player, what leadership did you feel you needed?
For me, a judge of character is when you're losing games or things aren't going well in life. Right, let's see who can stand up here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Project Peak Performance. Today is not just any episode. Today we are recording from the world famous Wentworth estate. And also Ian and I are delighted to be joined by a Premier League winner, an FA Cup winner, the all-time record holder in terms of Premier League appearances, someone who has played 53 times for England, and someone that has a professional career who played at the highest level in a career spanning 21 years. Welcome to the podcast, Gareth Barry.
Thanks for having me, boys. Looking forward to it.
Absolute
Tough
pleasure.
questions.
Well, we'll go straight in with it.
Yeah.
First question. This is obviously Project Peak Performance. So I'd like to know, is there a moment that stands out when you feel you experienced and delivered a moment or a time of peak performance?
Oh, so when you talk of peak performances, for me, I look at being a young kid, thinking, right, what are my dreams? What am I trying to achieve in terms of life? And for me, it was always wanting to be a professional football player. Had idols growing up, Paul Gascoigne, people like that. Can you try and be somebody like that? Okay, I'm not going to sit here and compare myself to Gazza with different characters on and off the pitch. But no, for me, my dream was to play for my country, play for England. Try and play in an FA Cup final, and these are things that I was lucky enough to be able to achieve. So if you're talking peak performances and dreams of putting them together, I sit there and examples like that, playing for my country, playing FA Cup finals, it was fantastic for me to be able to achieve those.
So Gareth, is there a particular moment in a game, a career moment, where you thought, I'm in probably the peak, the absolute moment in my career where I'm flowing? It could be 10 minutes of a game, like I say, or it could be a moment before a game or just a transfer. I don't know. Is there a particular moment?
I probably think where I felt at a time where I could do no wrong was at the end of my Aston Villa career. I'd been there a long time, so I was really comfortable and established at the club. So we're talking 11, 12 years at a football club where I've joined at 16 and I'm 27, 28 now. I've been captain for 2 or 3 years, and I just felt going on to Villa Park and even travelling away, I just felt so comfortable, and that not a lot can go wrong here. I'm so comfortable with my surroundings. So I'd say in terms of going out on a football pitch in my career, that would be the time, the end of my Villa career. I felt so comfortable playing football, and I just felt not a lot could go wrong really in terms of my own performance and helping my teammates. So I was really comfortable as a captain, leading my team out, and as an individual with my performance, I was just backing myself going into those games. So probably that period as Villa captain at the end of my Villa time as the most comfortable, probably rolling out on a football pitch.
Is it for an individual sportsman, athlete, footballer, is it important to have that environment around you, do you think, to be at the peak? Because it's a team sport. We'll talk about team later on, but as an individual, for you as an individual moment, is that as important as your own performance, the kind of culture, the setup around you as well?
I think it is. You've got to be enjoying going into work every day, into training. You've got to be settled, living in the area, and you've got to have trust in your teammates and coaching staff and manager. And that's why my answer would be that period, because I was so settled at that time. In terms of an individual being settled, it takes so much time. I think as a young player, speaking to Alex earlier on today, that it took me so long to realise, right, it's more than just your own performance. It took a few years to realise that as a young player coming in, you think all you're worried about is performing well as an individual. And there's so much more to becoming a footballer and a team player than just worrying about how you do individually. It's about other people as well, because ultimately football is a team sport and getting results.
You see that a lot in people's careers, like football careers. You can tell like a young, very talented player comes on, not selfish, but they're kind of very aware of their own performance, and then as players mature and they get a bit older, you kind of see them start to be more aware of the 2 or 3 players around them, then the whole midfield or defence around them. You do see that kind of evolve in people's careers.
Yeah, I get the point exactly you're saying. I watch some kids, and I've felt it myself. It was so important for me coming into a Villa team at 17. I had Gareth Southgate one side of me, Alan Wright, the left back, Hugo Ekiog, and experienced midfielders in front of me, and just them talking and helping you while you're just trying to concentrate on your own performance. It's so big, and communication as a team player, especially on a football pitch, is one of the most underrated skills that a young player needs to learn. And I speak to young players all the time. If you can pass on information as well as worrying about your own technical performance, it's going to help yourself and your teammates. That's as I say, an underrated skill in football.
We've spoke about it on podcasts before, actually, that even take football out of the equation, but one of the things, we won't get onto the schooling system here, I promise. But communication, you mentioned it there on the pitch, but in business, in marketing, in life, family dynamics is probably one thing that's the most under-taught skill that I think should be taught, because it does benefit you in every single way. So it's interesting that you raise that kind of point as a peak performance.
And you spoke about senior leaders sort of taking that responsibility of nurturing the youth. Did you feel you took on that role as your career developed? Did you feel it was an obligation to sort of help the younger players coming through? And I suppose as time went on, did you feel they were more or less receptive to someone telling them how to act, what to do, and helping them out?
Yeah, it's sort of the younger player, you're taking it all in and thinking, I really appreciate this guy helping me. He doesn't need to do it. Obviously, he's trying to help the team, but you think, well, he's helping me here. Let me know if I've got time. Let me know where a player is around me. Letting me know if I made a mistake or what to do next time. Little stuff like that. And you take it all in as a younger player. And then you feel you've got to a stage in your career as a teammate, right, I'm ready to let the younger player now know what I've taken on board. And I think that's something, it takes a while to tell another player, if they've made a mistake, or have the confidence to tell somebody, time, turn, or I'm here. It's certain personality sometimes. If you're a quiet player or a shy person, it takes time to build. And for me, you sort of know when you're stepping into that next level, right? I'm ready to be a leader. I'm ready to take over that role that what I once wasn't.
What was your style of leadership? You say about being quiet or loud.
Yeah.
What was your style?
Yeah, I wasn't a big shouter or right, I'm going to do this team talk that's going to get everyone going. For myself, I was right, let's set standards. That actions speak louder than words. Sometimes I was definitely one of those characters. I want to do the right thing at the training ground. Always give 100% in training. And positive. Always be positive. I've been in plenty of dressing rooms over the years where people who aren't in the team, people that have had a bad game, people who don't have that manager, you hear a lot of negative noises. I was just picked it up along the years. It's not going to do the dressing room well. It's not going to do the team well. Just even if you're not playing, even if you're having a tough period, just try and keep being positive. So even when you're having a bad run of results, it takes one game sometime or one result and it can all turn. So just being really positive leader. So it was a skill I thought was really, people then look up for you, because they then look back and think, what, in that tough period, the captain or Gareth was always positive. He didn't drag anyone down with him. So I always tried to keep that with me.
Yeah, I love the idea of positivity. It breeds so much around those that you're with. I mean, my question I was going to ask you next was around leadership and what do you think makes a good leader, and you've kind of answered it already. But you were club captain at 3 of the 4 clubs that you played for.
Yes, yeah.
So obviously you had leadership abilities and people saw that in you. I mean, did you seek that out, that captaincy, or did people just...
I think they saw, See, I always look back as a young kid. I got into an England squad at 19 and Tony Adams was the captain then. And I'm going out, I was in the Euro 2000 squad, and I'm seeing him lift the squad with these encouraging words. And I'm looking at thinking, well, that's never going to be me, because I'm not that character. And so I'm thinking at this stage, probably will never be a captain. But as you get older and older and you realise people are respecting you for being you rather than the personality that I'm not Tony Adams or John Terry, some people like that, but I'm a leader, right, that's going to always set an example in a different way, but there's more than one way to lead a team. And, I was just my own person, and, managers obviously saw that and thought, right, he's the man to lead this team, to captain.
That shows a massive maturity around, you'll probably see people that will follow what other people are doing and it not be authentic to them.
Yes.
But obviously for you to understand, okay, you know what good leadership looks like, but you've got to put your own spin on it and be comfortable in your own skin as that leader.
I think it's important for people to hear, because it's not everyone's going to be a professional footballer. Some people might have phenomenal careers in business, but you don't have to be that idol. You don't have to be the same as them. You don't have to be the person that is the winner, the competition winner, whatever it may be, the high salary in business. You don't have to replicate them. You've got to be your own version of what sounds like a core value, a standard, really. Kind of the best version of what you can be will be enough to lead if you're ready.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I remember being captain and we were going through a tough time at Villa, and one of my teammates came to me, do you think we should do a team huddle and you try and get the lads rallying? I'm thinking to myself, I get where you're coming from, but I don't want to be somebody I'm not.
Yeah,
just try and, obviously, if it's going to help the team, yes, but I thought, no, I don't. I'm not going to go down that road. But the team huddle, if you think it's a good idea, although I'm captain, look, you do the talk, but I'm going to get the lads and say we're going to do this. And you know what? I went with that. Doesn't mean the captain has to do it right. We're a team. You're comfortable doing it. It could be a good idea. Let's try it. So let's go with it. Just because you're the captain of the team, you're not overly comfortable doing something like that. You take up, but we're in it together. So, can't remember if it worked or not. We're giving it a go. And you've seen the teams do it over the years, and it gets the blood boiling before you start the game. So let's try it. Things aren't going well. Let's try something different.
I mean, you've touched on your authentic leadership style. As a player, what leadership did you feel you needed? What kind of, if you think of the best managers you played under, what did they do to you to get the best out of you, do you think? What leadership style did they have to get the best out of Gareth Barry?
I'd probably say the word I've already used, like someone being positive. For me, a judge of character is when things aren't going well. It's so easy being, and not just talking about football, when things are going well in life, it's so easy to ride that wave. For me, a judge of character is when you're losing games or things aren't going well in life. Right, let's see who can stand up here, because it's easy to go missing when it's going badly, and it's easy to ride the wave when you're doing well. And for me, it was like, right, you're gonna have to show yourself here when you're in a tough run of games. Like, let's stand up. You're the captain now. Let's try and be positive. Let's try and set example and lead from there. So they're probably the points through my younger career I thought, this is a proper character, this is a proper leader and somebody you're looking up to. So they were the traits I would always try and take forward.
I find it amazing in football. I'm a massive football fan, and seeing the same 11 or the same squad maybe 6 months to the next 6 months just be totally different. And I'm interested to know, we spoke about you as an individual, but team dynamics, you mentioned about your style of positivity, and I'm just interested to know from, as a Chelsea fan, why teams are up and down all the time. Selfishly, what's going on at the bridge? No, I'm interested to know the dynamic that fires the same players. And what you've experienced in your career, where you've seen this squad is the same faces, but we are very different on a Saturday at 3:00.
And that question is probably the hardest one to answer. And you're talking probably about a period of 6 months there. You're talking one squad to the next, but even one half to the next. You're like, well, what's happened from half time where you could be 2-0 up to draw the game 2 or even lose the game? You're like, what's the same players there? What's happened? But sometimes in sport, momentum and the positive feelings and it's such a tough tough question to answer. I remember so many interviews after the game. What happened in that second half? And I'm like, I can't.
Do you feel it happening in a game sometimes?
You can, You can. You can feel momentum switching, and you look around and think, boys, what have we done differently here? Let's try and get back to what we were doing. But the home fans, you're playing away. The home fans are now lifting. You feel like they're snapping into tackles a bit harder, but that's just team sport, and that's sport in general, momentum. And once it shifts sometimes, and a little bit of negative mindset creeps into certain individuals, it can just switch. But if you can get that right balance where even when you go behind, you've got faith in the group to bring it back round, that's when you are onto something good. And as you say, a Chelsea fan, it's taking longer than half a game, isn't it?
Yeah,
it might take 2 or 3 run of games, and then you're all the 6 months before is all of a sudden forgotten. And I'm not going to big Chelsea up here, but they never know. It might swing around.
I mean, just even in your career, there's a couple of games that come to mind around changes of momentum and things changing quite quickly. So, obviously, the famous title win. Was it 2-0 down against QPR? Was it 2-1?
2-1 down.
2-1 down against QPR, going into the stoppage time. And then obviously get one goal and then the Aguero moment to win the league. And then on the other side of it, playing for England in the World Cup, I think it was the Germany game, Lampard's chip that went over the line, would have gone 2-2 into half-time, I think. And then second half, I think that sort of, the Germans sort of went and really put the knife in. So did you feel that as a group? Was there anything in, certainly from the England side at half-time where it was like, we know it was over the line and we're just, it affected your performance? Like those 2 games in particular, what did you feel?
Yeah, I'll start with the Germany one. I think VAR might have got that one right. Do you agree? I think it was far enough over the line. The VAR, they would have got that right. But you're right. The halftime team talk was, Capello probably had 5 minutes talking about, right, let's get our instructions over. The lads could not believe the conversation was about the ball being over the line rather than like, right, we can't change that.
Yeah.
It was just that. It was that moment. It was a good half a yard over the line, wasn't it? But I remember the first, especially 5 minutes, the lads couldn't believe that the referee or the linesman hadn't seen it. And then the last 5 minutes, Capello probably had his moment to try and put us right. But, for me, I never make excuses. That wasn't excuses. It happened. Germany went out and, they were they turned out to be the World Cup winners, that squad. They come and done a great job on us and were the better team on the day. But that is moments and stuff that can turn games. That the momentum at 2-2 is a different conversation to obviously 2-1, and you're like you gutted. A goal shouldn't have been given. But again, that's the strength, right? You can't, for me, being a sports person, something that's already happened, you can't affect that. Right, that's gone. In any sport, in any way of life, stuff you can affect it. Stuff you can't, don't give too much time worrying about it. And that's a skill in itself that I probably took along my career as well. That Do
you think a lot of players don't have that skill? They're not able to pull it back. You see certain moments where you think, like Lineker goes, he's gone. With Gaza, and
yeah.
I watched obviously the game the other day, and they pulled Colwell off at half-time against Tottenham because he lost his head. And is that maybe an experience thing, or is it just some players have just got that flair about them?
I think experience helps you deal with. The more you're in that situation, the better you can deal with it. But again, a strength of a personality that pick up that at a young age, they're gonna have a better career earlier on and get to know their job a lot quicker. But yeah, it's such it's a tough one. If you can manage to put those moments out, not forget about it. You can't affect it. Right, let's move on. Right, you've had a bad game. The next one, that's gone. Let's start again. For me, I was always like, if I had a bad game, I just couldn't wait. Forgot about it. Couldn't wait to get out there again. Let's have a good game. And then people always, the old saying, you're only as good as your last game. That's so true. That is so true in football for me. If you have a good game, they'll talk about that one. The bad one before is forgotten. And going back to the Germany game, it's the last. You knocked out of a tournament. You've got to wait about 8 weeks before playing another game. So that summer was really tough for me as an individual because the World Cup, you've lost 4-1 to Germany. It's a tough period. You've got to wait a long, long time to let's show people you are a good individual. You can be in a great team and win stuff. And yeah, I was probably written off after the World Cup in 2010. But for me, as a mindset, as an individual, right, let's prove people right. You still can play for England. You can still play for a top club. And I went on to still a long career at 29, 30 after that. So it's something you need to be very mentally strong, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in redemption. I sort of feel a lot of people underestimate that. It normally go one of two ways. People can either fold, there's definitely not the place to name any careers, but people, you see them fold, you think it's such a shame.
Yeah.
But then some people have that moment and they fight back. Netflix has obviously got the Beckham documentary on at the moment.
Yeah.
You can see redemption in his eyes as he tells the story for
Yeah.
most of those down moments. Like, a very powerful mindset to be in that position.
Yeah, it takes a lot to block out, right, forget what's happened. It does take a lot because, especially today's world, the media coverage, the social media, you know, football's watched worldwide. You used to be able to go to America and people not know what soccer is out there, but now you can go out there and the Premier League's loved. It's just a worldwide thing. So to be able to block out someone like David Beckham was, you know, it was a great skill from him, that he was obviously be able to deal with all that attention off the pitch, but roll on the pitch, right, this is where I'm at my comfort zone, I'm going to prove myself right again.
You've touched on sort of the mindset required and almost control the controllables. There's many examples at the moment of off-field distractions affecting certain clubs in the top flight. So one of your old clubs, Everton, just gone through a points deduction, talk of potentially more points coming off. Man United, player revolts, the Glazer issue, you know, Man City and Chelsea, you know, potential financial fair play stuff in the future. To what extent do things happening outside of the training ground and, you know, off the pitch affect players, do you feel?
Yeah, I think they're different examples then. Like starting on the Everton one, I think that will galvanise the club and the team and the dressing room and the coaching staff, the fans. I'm interested to see the atmosphere next time at Goodison Park. It feels it'll feel like us against the world. Like, especially for a fan, that'll be so frustrating that fans have done nothing wrong and all of a sudden their club, who have never been out of the Premier League, will think that that's under pressure. So I think that could galvanise the group, make them possibly stronger. When you've got player revolt at Man United and players are inside the dressing room, that can have a bigger effect on the pitch, I feel. I think, look at Ten Hag, the stuff he's had to deal with in the change room. It's such a different sort of scenario, and he's banishing players from the first team dressing room. That can cause unrest with that player's teammates, and it can affect performance on the pitch. Is that the right thing to do or the right thing to do? I've been in dressing rooms where players are unhappy, and it does have an effect because, you know, eventually you are all together, and it's hard to go against individuals. So you can use certain stuff like that to your favour, but then sometimes you can understand why it causes unrest. And Ten Hag, for me, I look at Man United since he's come in, he's had a lot of problems. So in that way, in that respect for Ten Hag, I feel a tiny little bit sorry because he's a football coach. He just wants to coach that team, and when he's having to deal with a lot of off-field problems, it's not ideal, is it?
Yeah. Go back to being a Chelsea fan. Welcome to my world. Sorry, Potter. So talking reputation, legacy, you know, you're retired now. Your career, as Alex mentioned with the stats, was phenomenal. You know, to still hold that record as most appearances in the Premier League is elite. You know, it puts you in a totally elite individual bracket. So for your career, your reputation, your legacy, is that ever something you think about? Is it something you thought about when you retired? Do you think about it today?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I say I didn't think about my career. I'm very proud of what I achieved, and I spoke earlier in the conversation that your dream was to achieve stuff, to be a footballer, and you know I did tick a lot of boxes. But you know, I think when I look back at my teammates, and I'm proud to be picked so many times by different managers. But I think ultimately in life, I just feel like you want to be respected by the people that you've been around. You know, everyone likes to be liked, but you want to be respected for doing the right thing, and that's the only thing I look back on and think, you know what, you'd like to think your teammates and your managers would speak highly of you for the way you conducted yourself, and that's pretty much all I think about now when I look back in my career. I gave 100%. I don't think I could have given too much more. We all make mistakes, the odd mistake in life. We're not robots, are we? I can't sit here and say I'm an angel, because there'll be moments where people say, "Oh, don't remember that." But you'd think, right, respected by teammates, and any player would say that would be what they want to achieve.
Is there a particular person in life, not necessarily career, but is there one particular person that got you to that point of peak performance, got you to that elite stage? Is there someone that is a conversation, a person in your life, a mentor, that just, if they weren't there, the chances are you may not have had the career you had, or the life that you've had?
Tough question, isn't it? There's different stages of your career where you think, all right, I'm picking up on this, and you do try, and I've definitely nitpicked off certain individuals, but it's hard to look past your parents for me as nurturing you as a child. You know, I was one of 6 children, and your parents spent so much of their time, so much. Probably my siblings think a lot of the time was given to me driving around the country. Yeah. So it's hard for me to look past them, and just the way they put me under zero pressure. You know, people say to me, what were your parents like as you were a kid growing up? You hear different stories. We had a conversation about your young kids, Alex, playing football and different parents at games, but I literally felt no pressure as a kid playing football. Even the higher I got, they just felt that I needed to enjoy football. So I'd say that guidance and nurturing as a young kid was sort of key for my personality. I get it. Some professional athletes, they need a kick up the arse sometimes. They need to be driven on, otherwise they won't go out and do the practice, won't go and do that. I think my parents sort of worked my personality out well, it's what I needed, and sort of I've come through from there.
That's probably where the positivity comes from. If you've had that confidence, that praise, that kind of consistency, I guess, with what your parents brought, it brings out that natural positivity as a trait, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think as any parent, we're all different, aren't we? As human beings, you can have me, one of 6 siblings, we're all different. As a parent, you've probably got to work each individual out and see what's going to motivate them best.
So, awkward question, here we go. Me and Alex were talking yesterday and we were saying there's a group of players in you had a career where there were some of the best centre midfielders that the country has ever produced. But we look at like an all-star Premier League 11 and it's a lot of flair players in there, reputation, some your Ronaldos, etc., are going to be in there. And then if you look at the kind of the all-star 11 of Mr. Consistency type players, you put Neville's and Pearce and yourself in that. Yeah. Who wins in that game? Who wins that game? Is it the team? Is it the team that are always 7 and 8 out of 10, or is it that group of players that were classified as maybe world class or elite or flair? In your opinion, who wins in that game?
My experience when we used to do attack v defence on a Friday, the defence would always win the game. So to answer your question, I'd say if you played played 10 games, I think the consistency might win 6-4.
Love that, yeah.
I'm on that side of the fence, so that would be my answer.
Yeah, good to see.
So we touched on the sort of mental side of things. I mean, if we look at your career, again, we touched on it spanning 21 years. You didn't really have any major length of time out with injury.
Yeah.
So, if my stats are right, I've read a total of 123 days and potentially missing 23 matches in your career. Like, what habits do you think led you to operate so consistently at the top level, pretty much injury-free?
Well, to get the joke out of the way, I'm not quick enough to pull a hamstring, so I'll get that one out before you get it in. But no, I'd say I started my career where sports science wasn't a thing. So it was, for then, my genes, my body was probably made up a bit of luck where I just played football, trained every day, and very rarely, unless it was a bad tackle, or I just didn't pick up injuries. But then as the game changed, it got quicker and quicker, and it's still getting quicker now if you look at all the stats. I went with the new sort of sports science that came in, your ice baths, your yoga. There was old pros that I played with that were like, no, I'm just going to stick to what I've always done. My mindset was, right, well, let's try it. It's not going to hurt you. Let's try the yoga. Let's do the hot and cold baths. Let's try the cryo chambers, stuff like that. Let's go with it. It's not, if you don't feel it's benefiting you, don't use it. But for me, I always tried it, and I think that helped me. That mindset again. Let's try it. Let's go with technology. Let's listen to sports scientists. They're getting paid to do their job. Let's go with it. And I felt as I got older, my fitness and the way I looked after myself from listening to other people, it did benefit you. So I experienced it both ends of the scales and sort of went with the times instead of thinking, right, I'm sticking to what I used to do.
And was that the same with the mental side? Because you've spoken about the great grounding you had in life, and the role your parents had to play on your mindset. But as your career sort of went on, I'm sure the psychological side of things came in more and more with psychologists. Did you embrace that? Did you adapt and evolve that and try and get those marginal gains, or?
Yeah, I'd say that the psychologists come into a few of the managers I worked with. They try to get that extra advantage in terms of bonding a team together. And, as a group, I always bought into it and thinking, right, let's come on then, boys. If we can get a better team spirit, if we can get on the same wavelength, let's do it. So I'd always go into that as an individual, going to see someone to speak about football. I never went down that route. I sort of learned along the way of the best way to deal with sort of positive games and then negative games, how to use them to your advantage. So yeah, that was something I sort of learned as an individual, the best way to deal with things. But for me, just keeping that consistent level, right? You've had a great game. People are talking about you playing for England. Don't go up here and the only one is down. Let's just try and keep calm, try and keep on that level, because I just think that consistent key is key to staying on the right length.
I talk a lot about comfort zones on my socials, and I'm a big person for kind of really getting into the mental aspect of being in a comfort zone, and in particular for kind of dads, middle-aged guys, because that's what I can relate to as being one myself. And I know there's points in my life where I felt I was in a comfort zone, and it was probably one of the worst places you can be in, because you're vulnerable at that stage with everything. So everything that I do today is all about kind of stretch. Every year I set new physical, family, wealth-related goals that kind of really pull me through and stretch me a little bit. 4 years into retirement, is there something? Is there a big driver? Is there a passion? Is there something that you've got that you kind of spring out of bed for at the moment? I'm interested to know about that comfort zone.
No, yeah, I'd say at the minute, if I'm being completely honest, I'm in that comfort zone at the minute. I thought when I finish, I was going to go straight into the media world, like a lot of my ex-teammates are. But I had 3 months of that, and at that time it wasn't for me. That's not to say I might not go back to that, but I just felt that's completely come away from the spotlight, the media world. My time at the minute is definitely spending it with family, trying to guide my 3 children. But there's something might be around the corner. I don't know. There's just nothing jumping out at me at the minute that's saying, right, this is for you. So don't know. Watch this space, Alex.
There we go.
Watch this space here, and I don't want to do stuff for the sake of it. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Coaching or managing was nothing that really come across me as playing. I did honestly think the media was probably going to be the angle I'd go down, but for me, if I wasn't enjoying it, I wasn't going to do it for the sake of it. So, let's.
I guess your calendar as a pro footballer is so habitual, so regimented and high in every intensity. Whether it's even relaxing, is still you are paid to sleep in some occasions.
Yes.
So, time now for you is so valuable. But I mean, 3 kids, being a parent is one of the biggest privileges that anyone can have, really. Is there something that, other than playing on nice golf courses, is there something you're super passionate about that's totally away from sport or football?
I wouldn't say there's something that's going to jump out. So I do play a lot of golf. I play cricket through the summer. That keeps me in that team environment. The WhatsApp group where you just give one a bit of fun, a bit of banter. Keeps me in that team environment, which I think that is key. But no, just saying, I do think about it a lot every day. Is there something that I should be doing, or is there something that I want to do? But as we stand, no, I'd say family are taking up a lot of my time. But yeah, I do definitely think about it. There's something I'm missing out on there.
I have a good way of finding out, don't I, Alex?
Yeah, you do.
Come and run for 24 hours. You'll learn.
Is that what you've got?
That's what I do. Yeah, I'm big into my ultra running.
Okay,
and
I've done the London Marathon last year.
That
was a interesting period. But
I think you learn a lot about yourself when you just go out on your own. Sometimes I go no headphones, but you learn a lot about yourself when you're going on those runs or whatever the sporting activity may be that's of that endurance level, because you burn out your natural energy and then you find out what's going on upstairs, and that kind of works for me. And
that's an interesting one, the no headphones one. So when I trained off season, doing the treadmill runs, going the road runs, I always thought to myself, right, you don't play football with headphones, right? So I made a conscious effort, right? No, don't make it any easier for you. Get on that treadmill, get your mind ticking while you're running. So I think that's something in that. And I always say, why are you using headphones? Like, challenge yourself. Just get yourself, think about stuff instead of making it easier. But I have listened to stuff as well, so I get it. So it passes time a lot easier.
Sometimes it's nice to do both, but I call it a dark run, where you just go out, you just got to work through some things, not in a problematic way. For me, it's business or family or whatever it may be, but I do find that you get a lot of answers when you kind of go and do a dark run, no headphones. Goggins is obviously the social media character that kind of swears by it at the moment. So
Peak Performance podcast where you're running could be all right.
Get that in a lot.
So you've gone from a dream to reaching the peak of, what you were dreaming about, the game of football. Have you got, what's the piece of advice you would give to people on that journey now? So whether it was a young kid who wants to be a footballer and they're on that journey, or someone at the start in a business at the lowest level, but are ambitious and want to improve, what's the best piece of advice you could give to someone?
I think for a young person who's looking to achieve something, I think for me, always enjoyment. If you can enjoy something, you're going to look forward to doing it, and then you're going to get better results. And then along that road, it's just any coach, any boss, just listen. Even if you don't agree with them, pick up. There'll be reasons why they're giving you advice, or just nitpick the bits that you can learn along the way, and eventually that'll all piece together for your own individual help. And for me, listening to other players, different managers, the older I got, I just felt my game improved, and all of a sudden you moulded into like a player that's comfortable being out there. That's any individual in any business. You're going to be, if you can learn from other people, piece it all together that suits you, you're going to be a better person and you're going to achieve better things.
Yeah, love that. I mean, without question, we're the generation, and we can vouch for watching your career. You are the definition of consistently high standards. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast, sharing your wisdom with us. There's some key takeaways for a lot of people there, I think, and we really appreciate your time.
No problem. I've enjoyed that. Well done.